how COVID will be handled within the process of the National Football League. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, Sirius XM Channel 80, and your smart speakers. Bart Scott, Jason Fitz. Good morning, Bart. How you doing?
What it do, baby?
What it do? See, those are the things. Like, we're right out of the gates with the things you can say that I can't. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
That's a quote.
Like,
that's a quote.
No, but like, reverse it. Go ahead. Ask me how I'm doing.
What up, Fitzy? What's going on, baby?
What it do, baby? Like, it just doesn't work for me.
Say it with your damn chest. Look, first of all, look.
What it do, baby? I mean, like,
you're making yourself small, right? You should sit with confidence, right? You know what I'm saying? Sit like you
I
know
got
what I'm
pink
saying?
flamingo shoes on, man.
Sit like you belong. What it do, baby?
I'm not even going to try it. All right, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests join us on the Goodyear Hotline.
Get hard, and you Will Ferrell. I'm trying to toughen you up.
I appreciate that. You know, I could use the toughening up. There's no doubt. Speaking of tough, we got tough words from the NFL yesterday in the form of a policy, and this is the memo that they sent to teams, letting everybody know how COVID's going to be handled this year. And let's start here, Bart. We expected the league to speak because, let's be real, as much as we're all trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, this is still part of culture. This is still part of how everybody's living. We expected the NFL to give us some sort of guidelines, right? Because we're still going into a curious fall where nobody knows exactly how this is going to play out. But nothing's curious now because it's a 10-page memo that's gone out. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, the league has made a few things clear. They intend to play the entire schedule over 18 weeks. That would be 17 games per club, okay? Through that process, they do not anticipate adding a 19th week. They do not anticipate scheduling anything within their process that will allow games to be postponed. And they have taken a very hard line in the sand that they are not that if your team causes a cancellation because of a COVID outbreak for non-vaccinated players, you will forfeit that game. It will be a loss that you have to take. Nobody gets paid, and any economic losses will be at the feet of the team that's had the outbreak from non-vaccinated players. If you're vaccinated, the league will help in that process. If it's a vaccinated outbreak, they'll help mitigate the cost. But if not, they're putting all of this at the feet. So not only was this a strong statement for players, this was also telling owners, we're going to take your money. You're going to have to pay for everything if your team's the cause.
And that's the thing, right? Like, you know, they tried to ratchet up the pressure in the offseason, right? When you talk about, you know, them saying, hey, if you want to have a normal building, you got to have at least, 75% of your building.
85%.
You want 85% of your building vaccinated. And that didn't work, right? Because we heard the response. We heard Sam Darnold come out and say, I'm not vaccinated. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's just we're getting closer and closer to the regular season. They thought that would be enough, right? People would just want to have the freedom of being able to lift weights and be together, be in the locker room. They thought maybe the isolation would work and the peer pressure would work. It didn't work. Now they're coming after your money. And then they know that's something that's going to get the attention. But, you know, it's very few times, maybe once or twice during a year where you are addressed as a group by your owner. I think now owners are going to come in and they're going to apply the pressure, right? And the NFL has this thing that they've always had, and it's mandatory but voluntary, right? Where they make you feel like you have a choice, right? Hey, don't worry, we're going to have this voluntary minicamp. We're going to have these voluntary workouts. You don't have to come, but, you know, probably 85% of your teammates are going to be there, and you may fall behind. And if you fall behind, we're not going to catch you up, right? This is voluntary but mandatory, and this is going to be interesting because you're going to have some tough conversations in some locker rooms. And when you talk about losing game checks, and everybody in that locker room isn't created equal. You know, if you're Mahomes, if you're Dak Prescott, that game check is a lot more costly than, say, that undrafted free agent or that 6th-round draft pick coming in. So now they're ratcheting up the pressure again. And listen, this is going to be tough, and this can go either way. And there's so many layers to this, and we have so much to unpack. I don't know if we can do this in the first 9 minutes of this show.
Oh, we can't. He's Bart Scott. I'm Jason Fitz. We're filling in for the guys on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio. One of the interesting quotes, every club is obligated under the Constitution and bylaws to have its team ready to play at the scheduled time and place. A failure to do so is deemed conduct detrimental. There is no right to postpone a game. This is, again, to your point, I feel like if I'm an owner, what I've just looked at is the NFL coming in and look, anytime Roger Goodell speaks, he's speaking on behalf of the owners. So the owners decided on this together.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that the owners weren't in on this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So the owners have decided together that if you can't get your club vaccinated to a level that we have to postpone a game, that's on you. And I can only imagine if I owned a team that this becomes a much different conversation, because the financial responsibility where they come in and say, hey, if a non-vaccinated player causes an outbreak and you have to postpone a game, your club will be responsible for the costs. Now you're suddenly looking at it and saying, hey, not only am I, as an owner, paying your salary, but I would have to pay out millions of dollars in postponements and whatever other money is involved in that. Like, boy, if you're a fringe roster guy that's not vaccinated, I feel like that becomes a really different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, he's not worth the trouble, right? And he, the benefits outweigh the the whatever, what I'm saying,
the rewards, yeah,
the rewards, right? But it's crazy, right? Because they also have to pay for the team that's not going to get their game checks, right, on the other side, right? So like now it's just so much pressure being applied right now. I don't know how somebody's going to try and figure out how to use this as a competitive advantage as well. Because if you're talking about guys that are going to be, trying to, we'll cut this guy. And how are you going to figure out the source? This is what I'm saying. How are you going to figure out the source, right? If it's a vaccinated, like how much cover-ups and how much, CSI you're going to have to do to try and figure out who's vaccinated and unvaccinated. And also the competitive advantage, right? What if both teams have vaccinated outbreak and they miss the games? Then how do you go when and they're in the same division? How do you figure out, like, as far as the playoff seeding and rostering, because now you have two teams that's fighting for the same spot in the same division with one less win. So now you got to go to all the strength of schedule, who you lost to, all that type of stuff. It can get very complicated. They're going to have to make adjustments. This is going to be moving the goalposts as they continue to figure this thing out.
It's interesting because in May, league officials spoke to Brandon Beane, that would be the GM of the Buffalo Bills, after he said that a player potentially being vaccinated might sway his decision to cut someone. Word from the league office was that the GM was told he was not allowed to release a player, quote, solely due to vaccination status. But to your point, Bart, they'll find something. I mean, it's not difficult to find a reason to get this. And I want to be clear, because we're going to be talking about this. And by the way, that's some Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. We're going to be talking about this throughout the course of the day. Important notes, Evan, I'll ask you. I'm going to fourth wall here. Put that back. Yeah, Jeff Darlington was on Chiney and Golick Jr. I want you to hear what he had to say about the NFL and where they are on safety.
Like, if the NFL was concerned at all about, like, the science behind the vaccine, there's no way that they would be putting any type of potential mandates. No way they would be saying to players, like, get this vaccine. So you got to think that the NFL feels pretty strongly about this. If they're putting themselves out there saying, like, get this vaccine, like, sure doesn't seem like that they're worried about potential fallout from it. Now, I'm not suggesting that would influence anyone's decision. I'm just saying that, to me, that tells me that the NFL absolutely is dug in on this one and wants its players, is basically making it very clear to them without saying you have to be vaccinated to play, that you better get vaccinated or you're risking a lot here.
That's some Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless, no contracts, no compromise. We're just getting started.